Good evening. Thank you for having me here. I won't be as long as he was. Okay. Um, Taking off from what Setiadi Sopandi left, we proposed the Occupying Modernism as our main theme for the SEAM Encounters Jakarta chapter. Modern architecture continues to grow throughout the changing political and economic climates in Indonesia, along with their specific context. It grows as a tradition in the profession despite the popularity of postmodernism and regionalism, especially in the 80s and in the 90s. Modern architecture from different historical layers in Jakarta are not so easily understood without proper knowledge and perspective. We can always assess modern architecture accordingly back to its universal details and universal ideas, straightforward and logical forms, novel geometries, fine surfaces, rational responses to climates, rigid and orderly spaces, and uninterrupted movement of people and vehicle. However, it would not be adequate than once they were immersed in. It would not be adequate than once they were immersed in throughout decades. Okay. Oops. This is one of our efforts to understand Indonesian modern architecture in the span of 100 years from 1914 to 2014, which we presented in the Indonesian Pavilion in 2014 Venice Architecture Biennale. The theme we raised was craftsmanship, the material consciousness, where we dissected a culture of building in Indonesia through 6 materials that are commonly used with it all the tools, carpentry, the expertise, technology, opportunities, and new ideas that develop with it. But narratives fade eventually, and novelty has an expired date. And as time passed and modern life evolved, magnificent architectural spaces were devalued and snatched out of their initial intents and context. It does not necessarily mean bad. These spaces may actively be reinterpreted into something different, to even rehabilitate and inject it with new values that are in line with the new era. Occupying Modernism, our theme, is a reflection on how Indonesia rendered the spaces of modern architecture. It is a package of events consisting of an exhibition, a talk, and a tour. The exhibition is the heart of the event, which is preceded with a research involving 4 artists or contributors observing, analyzing, contemplating, noting down their impressions about 8 selected modern architecture and spaces. The architectural objects, as you can see here, are Hotel Indonesia Roundabout, the National Monument, or we usually call it Monas, Gelora Bung Karno, the Sports Center, and Istiqlal Mosque. Silaban's House, Studio Cahaya, residential project, Gedung Pola, and Adi Mursid's house. Each artist will explore at least 4 sites composed of 2 public spaces and composed of 5 public spaces and 3 domestic environments. The artists are asked to visit, to observe, to comprehend, and to establish a certain standpoint, or to develop an idea which will potentially enrich our understanding of the modern spaces. This exhibition will focus on representing how we, through the creative and imaginative impressions by the artist, occupied, celebrated, used, loved, cared for, disturbed, damaged, left behind, hated, ignored, and rediscovered our modern spaces. I will introduce the artist in detail later. We have done some visits, some research, and it is a series of visits by the artists or the contributors, and it has been conducted to 8 sites starting from late July until the end of August. The local curators, Setiadi Sopandi and I, accompanied and at certain extent interact with the artists and contributors while documenting the process. Given the artist's unique backgrounds and specific standpoint, we expect to encounter rich visual as well as thick historical impressions, which may help us shed this seemingly common structure under a new light, presented in artistic documentation. The impressions are to be expressed with text, either it's short essays, poems, notes, sketches, photographs. Either it's taken by the instant photo cameras or cell phone, video clips, found objects, and archival objects. These objects will be exhibited along with necessary introduction of the 8 architectural projects to create a coherent exhibition through a short narrative and some representative photographs. The targeted audience will be architects, architecture students, academics, design professionals, and artists and art students, as well as heritage practitioners, urbanists, policymakers, historians, and general public who develop interest on the objects of the topic at hand. And the information of the event will be disseminated through social media channels from arsitekturindonesia.org, the curators' social media, and any other social media influencers, like shown here. Now I would like to introduce the artist, if I still have enough time. Or maybe I just skip it, because all of the artists are Googleable. You can Google them yourself. This is Gunawan Muhammad, Hikmat Darmawan, Cecil Mariani, a graphic designer, and this is Alvin Chitrawiryo. He's a product designer. Maybe I just continue to the program. We will have 3 programs. The first one is the exhibition. The title is, like I said, Occupying Modernism, Impressions on Indonesian Modern Spaces. It will take place at Kopi Manyar, Bintaro, from 24th October to November 15th. Oops. Yeah. Okay. And the second program is a talk disclosing our modern spaces. It will feature Hikmat Darmawan, Alvin Chitrawiryo, Grace Sambo, and the curators. It also will take place at Kopi Manyar Bintaro. And the third program is the tour. The tour will highlight the monumental modern architectural projects in Jakarta, initiated during the 60s under the guided democracy period. The first part of the tour explores from Istiqlal Mosque, Irian Barat Liberation Monument, and the National Monument. Grace Sambo will collaborate with us, and she will specially elaborate the creative and potential processes behind the creations of the dioramas within the national monuments. The second part of the tour explores the Hotel Indonesia roundabout and ends at the Gelora Bung Karno Sports Complex. Now I will tell you about the venue. The venue of the exhibition and the talk is Kopi Manyar. Kopi Manyar is a coffee shop owned by a leading architect in Indonesia, Andra Matin, located on the outskirts of Jakarta. The popularity of Kopi Manyar cannot be separated from the big name of Andra Matin and his work that are always Instagrammable. And people came from various backgrounds and generations there, firstly to supply their Instagram feeds, and then for coffee. The addition of the gallery to the coffee shop gave a new hype to this place, inviting a different crowd, especially after Setiadi Sopandi and I regularly organize the architecture history classes and a critical writing workshop at the venue. So these are the pictures of the gallery, and these are the photos of the classes that we held there. This one is the map, the plan of the gallery. We will enter from here, and this is the coffee shop area, and the gallery is behind the coffee shop. The preparation of the exhibition. Okay. At present, the curator team is processing materials, archives, drawing, articles, documentation, narrations for the background of each object of the exhibitions, while the artists, after their visits, are preparing their responses for each object. These are some of the photos, the pictures taken by the instant camera from our artists of several objects that they have been visiting. And meanwhile, the designers for the exhibition are also preparing the display concept of this exhibition by exercising different models and ways of display that are most communicative and in accordance with the content of the exhibitions. To get a further picture, maybe I will try to elaborate one of the objects that we will show in this exhibition, which is the National Monument or Monas. The curator will provide a complete background of the history and position of Monas in the history of Indonesian people from time to time, not only from the serious and heroic aspects of the monument, but also the funny and ridiculous events and responses on certain issues by the people. Such as Jokowi Widodo's, our president, victory celebration on his first presidential period, or the large-scale demonstration to topple down the Chinese governor of Jakarta, Ahok, by radical Muslim initiated by a movement calling themselves the guardians of the fatwa of the Indonesian Ulama Council and the Islamic Defender Front, or FPI, on 21st February 2017. This demo came to be known as the 212 demo, and they claim to have about 7 million people on that demo. Or funny reactions in form of memes when there is an issue regarding the relocation of the national capitals. The response of the artists or contributors will be in the form of photos, either with instant camera and text, but also other responses such as sketches, comics, collage, etc. Like this. Okay, thank you. Terima kasih.